So it's been around a month now since the first weekend of the Battlefield 6 beta. I don't know about you guys, but I'm genuinely having withdrawals and have not stopped thinking about the game since the servers went offline. It's had me thinking that there were some pretty cool little tidbits of information and details that I noticed during my 40 or more hours of playtime. And so today I wanted to run you through 9 cool details you might have missed during both weekends of the Battlefield 6 open beta. Now the first one is going to sound super obvious to some people, but there is an added element to this that I think almost all of you probably missed. Now I'm sure a lot of you know that the game has a combat roll system where if you jump from a certain height and then you essentially crouch at the perfect time, then you will do, as you can see, a combat roll that not only sort of stops that stagger when you land, where you'll kind of land and just be stagnant for just a second before you can keep running, but also it avoids pretty much all damage. From what I could tell, it pretty much takes every single bit of damage away, at least up until a certain height anyway. Now, that in itself is a cool little detail for the dice. But one thing that I think most people missed about this is that there is also the ability to do a backwards combat roll as well. Now, don't ask me how I found this. I was jumping around like a dickhead for quite some time before I figured this out, but if you jump and then you essentially turn backwards in the direction that you're moving, if you do this barrel roll, well, it will still work and the animation will be backwards instead of forwards, because obviously all of your momentum is headed in that direction. So that was a really cool touch from them, in my opinion. They didn't really need to add something like that in there. They could have just made it that if you do this and then you go backwards, you can't do the combat roll, but they even added a second animation, which I personally thought was really cool. Now, something else that I noticed on the 5x scope for the M2010 ESR, the only sniper available in the beta, is that on this 5x scope, if you actually look on the sort of lens cover for that scope, there is essentially a cheat sheet that is in that lens cap. Now, I did a bit of digging into this. This is apparently referred to as a DOPE card, which stands for distance on previous engagement. And this is essentially just a cheat sheet that refers to bullet drop and helps snipers with their accuracy at not only long ranges, but also just in tough conditions, where some snipers will pretty much note down any information about their previous shots and just use that for future information. So I thought that was a really cool little touch, and it shows some of the crazy detail they're going into in Battlefield 6. Now, something else that was pretty easy to miss is that when you're building your weapons in the sort of loadout section of the game, over on the right, it obviously has the little sort of stats area where you can see what the attachments are doing, what they're helping or hindering, and that is obviously very helpful for building out your weapons. Now, if you press C, if you're on PC, or if you're on any console, if you press R3, this will actually kind of expand the stats over there, giving you a little bit of extra context about what you're actually doing to your weapons. So this one is not only just cool to see, but it is actually really helpful, and I would recommend doing this pretty much every single time you're changing attachments, because that little bit of extra context can really help you sort of realize what you're changing, especially when it comes to the exact stats and stuff like that. Now, something else that I thought was a really cool touch from the developers is that when someone does the new drag revive mechanic, where you pretty much pick up your teammates by dragging them along the ground, well, it does actually leave a blood trail in the area where you've dragged that teammate. And I thought that was a really cool touch, not only to the sort of realism and grit of the game, but on the flip side of this too, it also does help if you're on the other side of this. So if you've killed someone, you know someone's down, and then you go around that corner and you can see a blood trail on the ground, well, it likely means someone has drag revived them nearby. And because the blood doesn't last overly long, it means it has been pretty recent as well. So not only is it a cool touch, but this can be useful information as well. If you see a blood trail, be aware that someone has probably just been revived in the area, and you might be able to pick up a nice and easy 2-piece by killing that enemy again and also killing the person who revived them. Now, before we get into the rest of the cool little details, if you guys are new to the channel and you're interested in more Battlefield 6 content just like this, then be sure to hit that subscribe button. There is plenty more on the way, so make sure you don't miss out. Now, something else that I personally didn't actually see myself, but I thought this was really cool and I thought it was definitely worth mentioning, is that there is already the beginnings of an Easter egg on Liberation Peak before the game has even launched. Now, I have no idea how people find this stuff so quickly, but there is apparently a boombox over on the E flag on Conquest, and it does have a little interact button on it, so I think you can turn it on and off and it will just play music. But someone actually knifed that boombox, and then this message here appeared on a nearby wall with essentially a bunch of text and some numbers that is obviously alluding to pretty much our first Easter egg in Battlefield 6. Now, I'm sure you guys will know that Battlefield has kind of always been pretty famous for its crazy in-depth Easter eggs. And we knew that there was going to be Easter eggs in Battlefield 6, but the fact that we are already getting these in the beta before the game has even launched, like I said, this was all a month ago now, so it's pretty early to be getting into the Easter egg side of things. And the fact that this has already been discovered is so cool in my opinion, and I'm very keen to see where that Easter egg actually goes. Now, the next one is something that I'm sure a lot of you did find out, but I'm sure a lot of people didn't as well. This is the fact that sprinting with your knife is about 20% faster in this game. Now, I do have footage of this because we actually figured it out while we were in LA. A lot of us creators were just messing around, and a lot of people figured this out pretty damn early. So I was essentially doing this my entire playtime of the game, but instead of showing my own footage here, I wanted to give a quick shout out to SMK Gaming, who actually did a full video on this, going really in depth into all of the details about it. And so go and check that video out. I'll try and remember to leave it linked down below, but if not, just head to his channel, it'll be there, and it is definitely worth watching. But the main thing to know is that it is definitely worth always running with your knife to get around faster. Obviously, when you're in close quarters and stuff, that is definitely not the best idea, but if you're running from the spawn point, for example, and you've got a long way to go, well, definitely pull out your knife because it is a hell of a lot faster. Now, something else that, again, I'm sure probably a lot of you did realize, and some of you even like subconsciously probably realize this, but the firing range does actually include a little speaker in the back here that will play some of the old school Battlefield themes. Now, it seems to have essentially every theme ever. There was not any that I didn't hear, at least I think so anyway. Maybe there was some older ones that didn't show up, but I'm pretty sure over the time playing this, I heard essentially every theme that there has ever been in Battlefield. And I thought that was a really cool touch from the devs. Now, something else that is cool is that if you're trying to focus on the firing range and it's annoying you, well, you can also shoot it to turn it off. And by turn it off, I mean delete it from existence. So I thought that was cool as well, that they've got that option there, but also if you don't want it, you can turn that music off by simply shooting the little speaker. Now, another cool detail that I thought was not only cool to see, but is just actually handy as well, is the fact that you can now hang on to the back of tanks, which is something that I've actually been sort of crying out for a long time now, because obviously you can jump on top of tanks, but when you're on the back, you are a hell of a lot safer. Now, the only issue with this is that it is kind of hard to actually do this on purpose, because as far as I know, the tank actually has to be full in order for this to be available. And so if you try and do this, but there is a spare slot in the tank, you just get into the tank rather than hanging off the back. And so it is a little bit hard to actually do this on purpose, but hopefully they added an option in the future where maybe if you just aim at a certain spot on the back of the tank, you can jump on. I think that would be really cool. And it's also worth noting too that you can spawn here. So if you spawn on a tank and it is full, well, it doesn't really matter because you will just spawn hanging onto the back of the tank. Now, the last little detail that I noticed on Iranian Offensive is another pretty much Easter egg where you can see this poster that has Battle Saw on there. And this refers to the old 4chan meme that has now essentially been in every single Battlefield game. Now, I remember seeing this in game, but I've scoured through all of my footage and I can't seem to find it. So shout out to Danny on PC for the footage. He's got some footage over on his channel. And this is a cool little Easter egg that's a little bit smaller, but I'm sure you guys will know about the T-Rex sort of meme that has been in every single Battlefield game now since I believe Battlefield 3. There is a cool little backstory to this that if you guys want to know more about it, let me know down below because I can actually maybe make a full video on that. I think it would be a fun video to make. But there is a little backstory. It's not that deep, but it is a cool little backstory about the whole T-Rex meme within all of the Battlefield games. And honestly, I would love to see DICE go all out with Battlefield 6 and actually put a literal T-Rex Easter egg in the game, similar to the Megalodon in Battlefield 4. Being able to actually spawn a genuine dinosaur into the game would be so cool. So hopefully we can see that, even if it is towards the end of the game or something like that. But that is it for 9 cool little hidden details that you might have missed in the Battlefield 6 open beta. If there's anything you think I missed as well, be sure to leave a comment down below and let us know. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you all out there on the battlefield.